Good evening and welcome everybody to the Sim Experience SA Toyota GT4 Cup coming to you live from the Aldo Scribante circuit in Port Elizabeth. I'm your commentator Dennis Mitchell, joined again by Sean Woodgate. This is round 7 coming up. It is quite a tight, twisty circuit. I think there's going to be very few opportunities for overtaking here. The drivers are already struggling. There are quite aggressive curbs here, so it's going to be quite a challenge for the drivers. So just looking at our schedule coming into this, so this of course is round 7 of the championship. After this we'll head over to Hockenheim, the Grand Prix circuit. Then we'll head over to the current version of Kyalami, which is the 2016 layout. And then we'll end the championship at the Spanish circuit of Valencia, which is a very nice sort of tightish sort of flowing circuit. So I think that'll be quite a good circuit in the championship. Lots of opportunities for the drivers to pass there, but also you need to stay on the fast flowing lane, so it could be a bit tricky to stay with someone. Just looking at our point system, so drivers earn 22 points for a race victory and a single point for 15th place. They get an extra point for pole position, and they'll get a point for fastest lap in both race 1 and race 2. Qualifying does set the grid for both race 1 and race 2, although race 2 will have the top 5 reversed. Championship standings coming into this round, we have yes,
just sorry to butt into you, I don't see anything on the stream, so then I suppose nobody else is seeing anything on the stream either.
It's showing on my end. If everyone can maybe just let me know, is the stream coming through? We have some
the duplication of your screen that I normally piggyback on.
Oh, that's maybe just on my side. All right, let me just maybe it's
disregard me.
Let's say yes, all good. Okay, let me just carry on with this. I think I am doing some finger trouble here, so I will just if everyone could just give me a second while I get Sean. Sorry about that. I just had to click an extra button.
There she is.
I'm quite tired because I have competed in a 24-hour race of Nürburgring along with Gerrit and some of our other drivers, but enough of that. So Gerrit, of course, leading the championship on 218 points of full throttle. We have Jason Underwood in second place for JU Autos on 188 points, and Jean-Louis de Toy for Savage Racing on 182 points. I'm just going to quickly show our latter part of the championship standings. Let everyone have a quick look at that. You can pause it at your own leisure. And we're going to jump live to qualifying now because the drivers are on circuit. And while we're doing that, I'm also going to just say welcome to everyone again. This of course is the Sim Experience South Africa Toyota GT4 Cup. This is round 7 coming to you live from the Aldo Scribante circuit. This is a 15-minute qualifying session. I'm your commentator Dennis Mitchell, and I'm joined once again by Sean Woodgate. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, Dennis. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Aldo Scribante. Just to give you an idea, it is 0.08 of a kilometer longer than Swartkop, so yes, a very tight circuit as well.
I'm just going to quickly run through these things as well while we have this available. Let me just jump to a actual championship standings, and then we can get into the official timings of everything. Not too many drivers on circuit tonight. I think some of the drivers are still quite tired from doing the endurance race, so they have elected to skip tonight's race. Although we do have Gerrit here tonight, so he's braving it. He's, I think, running mended tonight, but he's looking pretty fast still, although he is struggling on the circuit, but still in practice I think he was 0.089 off of what Jean-Louis de Toy had achieved, so times are looking very close at the front. Right, let's get up some of our timings. Which for some reason haven't popped up yet. Right, hopefully we should now start to see everything. So Neil Swartz currently in P2, and he has aborted that lap and jumped to the pits. So we can have a look at Jeffrey Rouse, currently behind Monet de Toy. And they're getting a bit sideways onto the straight there. Look like they're actually racing there.
Yeah, that's the last corner of the track is Dunlop. and they carry on down the straight. There you see the pit lane joining, and the first corner is Repco.
Let's stay on board with Jason for a lap.
These are the S's. Well, they've gone through lap Repco, then it's the S's, right and the left. It's a very short straight, then they go through the kink, which I don't think they get off the throttle at all. Then it's a sweeping right-hander West Bank hanger, and then an almost hairpin, which is called the hairpin. But that's a nice slow lap. He's actually just staying out of the way of traffic. Through the hairpin, and then it's up to the Bridgestone sweep, which is a sweeping left-hander. As you said, quite vicious curbs. If you look at the angle, they look to be angled at about 45 degrees. The back straight, if you can call it that, it is so short. And then the last corner on the track is turn 8. Like Swartkops, also 8 corners, and then that last corner, is Dunlop, and then you're into the straight again. And the finish line is about a quarter of a way down the start of the straight. So the finish line is very quick after Dunlop corner.
Right, so Stan Mercedes on a lap at the moment. It's not a personal best, but let's see how his middle sector plays out. I think Stan is still feeling the track. Didn't do such a bad time in practice though.
I must say it's a nice bright sunshine day. I haven't looked at the flags. Normally the wind blows in Port Elizabeth, especially when it's in the afternoon already.
I think we have about a 7-kilometer wind at the moment. I'm not sure of the direction.
That's quite light. I think some of those flags that I saw there for a second are the continental flags. So, and they were quite peaceful in the breeze, and the conditions certainly look great for racing.
Right, Monet heading around for a lap, actually looking quite neat there at the moment, using all the track, not too much of the curb. That was pretty much as perfect as you want to be. You don't want to go any more over the curb, otherwise it will suck you off the track, like that.
Yeah. Question from one of the viewers is, do we not have a series sponsor for this series, gents?
For this series, no. This series was just a plain Sim Experience series.
Just here in the pits, there's flags to the right, which I've got a view of, and as I said before, the wind is very light, so an unusual day for Port Elizabeth, where we know the wind can howl. Jean-Ray de Toy going through that difficult S's. And as I said, there you can actually see, yeah, drifting outside doesn't matter too much, but on that inside of the first S, you can see how steep, like you can see here as well, and there on the outside, the curbing is quite vicious.
Yeah, the curbing is quite vicious, but I think also the grass around here seems to be a little bit slick. So some of the tracks, you know, if you have a vicious curb and you get over it, you can kind of be okay. It's that sort of fight as you sort of pivoting on it. But once you get over it, maybe the car settles. But here, once you get over it, it just keeps going. So that's what makes it, even the compounds, it just gets way worse. As we see, Jean-Louis de Toy fastest overall first and second sector. I presume this is going to take provisional pole position.
A green and a purple for him, and a purple overall. Just a sub 1 minute, 59.5.
Was a good lap. So provisional pole by 0.2 of a second. Neil Swart's currently in third place. Let's see what he can do on this lap. Let's go on board and compare, see if they're taking different lines, how much curb they're all using compared to each other. That inside curb there, you can, you know, the top of it is I think flat enough that you can actually, there's enough width on the top that you can lean on it. Some of these curves, it's not. It's very, very short and sort of sharp on the top.
Yeah, it would change again completely if it were to be damp, because then the curbs are slippery. So, and the grass even worse so. So a lot of things one has to keep in mind. I think the best is to stick to the black stop, lean against the curb, but try not to go too much onto the curb.
At the moment, Neil's not improving either.
You get a corner like this where you go to the curbing on the inside, but where you go actually into the entrance into the corner, there's no curbing on the outside whatsoever. So where's Neil? Neil's lying third at the moment. He had a personal best in sector 3 of that last lap. He runs a 1 minute 00.2, whereas first and second place are running just under a full minute, a 59.5 from Jean-Ray and a 59.7 from Khaled.
just to inform our viewers, we briefly mentioned the endurance race. The last 2 nights, well, from 1 o'clock on Saturday till 1 o'clock today, some of our drivers, or 6 of our drivers, including myself, took part in a 24-hour race of the Nürburgring. Gerrit was one of them, so he was doing extremely well there. So he's really struggling with fatigue tonight, as we see comments there regarding his fatigue. And yes, he did. He runs a very high force feedback on his wheel, so driving for such an extended period with the high force feedback definitely takes its toll on a driver, even just driving on lower force feedback for extended periods. So really impressive to see that he is here tonight and pushing on.
Dennis, you're doing the 6 of you a total injustice. You said that you drove the 24-hour at the Nürburgring. You actually drove a 24-hour race at the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Yes.
There's a massive difference. The Nordschleife is a circuit that takes over 8 minutes to do a lap. I've never driven it. I wouldn't even try and memorize it. How many corners does it have? You've driven it now for at least 6 hours. No, 4 hours. Can you recall how many corners there are?
It depends. If you go by the sims, some sims, depending on the sim, would say 157 corners. But in reality, according to the real world track names, there are, I think it's 79 corners.
Still noticeable. So yes, just a slight correction from my side there. The Nordschleife is a really intimidating piece of tarmac, and it started raining at night. It was like a skating rink.
Yes, myself and Gerrit both got to do some nice wet weather. I was midnight doing a little bit of rain driving, and Gerrit did some later in the morning. So Gerrit did really good while I was sleeping. So I was one of the fortunate ones to actually get some sleep. So yeah, our drivers have been taking part in various events and did really well actually. So we had all sorts of incidents and still managed to get a solid result. So congratulations to all the guys. It's quite an achievement to be able to drive that circuit for that amount of time through all those conditions. And of course, Sean, you were possibly going to commentate there because the event was run by a German series, so the commentary was mostly in German. They could speak very, very little English. There were a few English people that were actually watching it, but most of the people that, we see Neil going off there, most of the people watching obviously were commenting in German, but you yourself speak fluent German.
Yes, I do. I surprised a few people last night. I actually didn't realize that for this 24-hour race, they commentate the first 8 hours, then they go to bed for 8 hours, and then they commentate the last 8 hours. And would you believe, as the first 8 hours were finishing with the software that I needed to download to actually get into contact with them, we only managed that right at the end. And as they were sort of saying their goodbyes, I actually had a chat to one of the German guys, and then I attempted to join them in the last 8 hours of the day, but unsuccessfully so. But there are races to come, so maybe if we put the wheels in motion earlier, and depending who you guys will be racing with, then maybe I can join, shall I call it the graveyard shift, where there was no commentary for 8 hours. I could potentially offer to do that, even if it was just to be giving some facts and figures off the lap scoring monitor, which is the greatest source of information, especially when you see cars coming past in the dark and you can hardly recognize them unless they have the banner like we have at the bottom here saying that's Gerrit, and now you see that was stand beside note, so then you can actually say something. But other than that, I think we could have added value having a commentator at the Nürburgring Nordschleife.
Yeah, I'm saying we have better commentators here just because you can understand.
Aber Johann, du hast schon geguckt, hast du nicht gelernt, wie Deutsch zu reden? So I just asked Johann, he was watching the race, hasn't he learned how to speak German yet? He had 24 hours worth of watching, 2 8-hour stretches that he couldn't learn how to speak German.
Right, back to the action. We have Jean-Louis Toya in provisional pole position from Gerrit Beekers. Jason Underwood has snuck into 3rd place. He's on a good lap at the moment. Timo Smith is in 4th place. Neil Swartz has been demoted down to 5th place. Vicky Stander 6th place. Dinesh Singh in 7th. Jeffrey Rouse in 8th at the moment. Andre Hildebrandt in 9th. Sam Bezuidenhout in 10th. Monet de Toy in 11th currently.
unluckily only 11 cars, and what's that? Just over a minute to go for the qualifying session.
Yes.
But we will try and make it as exciting as possible, even if it's only 11. It's still going to be a lot of fun. As I said, this is a tight circuit.
Sorry to butt in, Sean. Jason just took provisional pole position, snuck in a really fast hot lap there at the end, a 59.492, so by 0.012 seconds from Jean-Ray de Toy.
Yeah, and it was quick all over. It was specifically the Sector 3 that did it for him. It was the quickest sector of everybody in Sector 3. Had a personal best in Sector 2, but then by 0.012, so that's 12 one-thousandths of a second, he takes it away from Jean-Ray.
So at the moment, Gerrit is in third position. He's about to start the lap.
This will be his last.
Right, let's go on board and see. This is his final attempt to snatch back pole position. Right, hard on the brakes, the nose dips in, turns in nice and early, stays off the curb enough, just uses a little bit of it to rotate the car, leans on the exit, not too much where it pulls him off. Stays off the curb on the inside. That's something I would have done slightly different. I would have maybe gone over just to use the rotation, but he's being cautious, or maybe he knows it will pull him too much. I'm sure he's more aware than I am of the conditions. Staying off the exit, that is a dangerous one. You go off there, it will pull you off.
And this lap, the first section, 0.2 of a second slower than, say, Jean-Ray's first sector. So, not sure if he's going to be able to catch up any of that. A 17.5, it's a personal best for himself, and in the hundredths of a second quicker than Jean-Ray's Sector 2. These laps are over so quickly, as we say, it's just under a minute.
So he could improve, but will he take pole position? That's the question.
Yeah.
And the answer is no. He doesn't improve and he doesn't take pole position.
And he had two personal bests, Sector 2 and Sector 3, but I think the 0.2 of a second that he lost in Sector 1 compared to the other guys, they were 22.086 dead, both of them. Jason Underwood and Jean-Ray de Toy running identical times in Sector 1. He had a 22.191. So that's what made the difference, is the Sector 1 time. But still, he's one of four drivers that actually, Timo Smith sneaks into fourth. So there are four drivers that run under a minute.
I believe that's the end of qualifying. It's such a short lap that by the time the one driver finished, I couldn't find anyone else that was on the lap. So we're going to jump to an ad break and we'll be right back.
Right, until then.
Right, welcome back everybody to the Sim Experience South Africa Toyota GT4 Cup Round 7, coming to you live from the Aldo Scribante circuit in Port Elizabeth. This is race 1, it is a 20-minute race. I'm the commentator Dennis Mitchell, joined once again by Sean Woodgate. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, Dennis. You say a 20-minute race, that's going to be, in my opinion, just to put it out there, 21 lap race. There probably might be 20, because they'll be slightly slower than qualifying, because they're now loaded with fuel, so they're going to be slightly slower than the 59 point whatever times they were running, so the chances are they'll run 20 laps.
Right, so the drivers are about to head on their formation lap, and they now do actually head on their formation lap. So let's have a look at our starting orders. So starting in pole position, we have Jason Underwood from Genre de Toy, Gerrit Bierkes in third, Timo Smit in fourth. In fifth place, we have Neil Swartz. In sixth place, Piki Stander. Seventh place, Dinesh Singh. Eighth place, Jeffrey Rouse. In ninth place, Andre Hildebrand. 10th place, Dan Bezuidenhout. And taking up the rear, we have Monet de Toy.
Right, so unluckily, as we said, with the endurance race that did happen, I think although not all of them were driving, I think some of them were spectating, and that also takes its toll. And maybe some of them are just too tired to face the Aldo Scribante circuit. 2.48 kilometers long, 8 corners. It keeps you busy. There's very little time for relaxing other than the front straight, which doesn't last very long anyway. Just looking at the flags again, a light breeze that's blowing to give a direction as to how the circuit runs. The front straight runs in a northeasterly direction, about 45 degrees off north. So yeah, northeast.
Right, so not much wind today, so not very much. I mean, Port Elizabeth is known as the windy city, and unfortunately today it's not a very windy city.
The other thing that could change, I'm not sure whether it happens at Aldo Scribante, but if the wind does blow quite strong, then the racing line gets a little bit destroyed because of the dust that might come to settle. But with the light breeze that there is today, no chance of that happening at all. Yeah, they come to line up for the start.
All right. So we'd say in American racing, drivers start your engines, although they've already started them technically. I guess they would say something else when they're pulling away.
Yeah.
Right, everyone is taking up their grid slots. And wait for the countdown to start.
There we go.
For some reason I don't have up. Apologies for that. Right, they're away.
Yeah, everybody seemed to, if you look at the cars, they seem to all squat at the same time. So it looks as though Jason has a good start. The track goes in the right direction for him. He takes first, Genre takes second, and behind him Gerrit Bierkes into third, and then Timo Smit just following them. There has been a split between Neil Swartz and his teammate Piki Stander. So Piki's dropped down all the way to 9th. I'm not sure what happened with Piki, but he'll be fighting back, be sure of that. He's got to get past Andre Hildebrand and Dinesh Singh to get anywhere near his teammate. They make out nice colors, those turquoise and lime green cars. But Jeffrey Rouse also running at the moment second to last, but a small field, as we did say, only 11 competitors, and at the back it is Stan Bezuidenhout.
Yeah, Jason Underwood actually pulling away slightly at the moment. A good start from Monet de Toy as well, starting in 11th. He's already up to 9th, so he had a good pull away and got ahead there. As we see, I believe that is Piki going up the inside there.
Piki on Andre Hildebrand.
Under right up there. I guess he's not reading the time lost logo, because he's definitely following him.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing at Port Elizabeth is it's very flat, which is very different to Swartkops. The one big difference to Swartkops is that Swartkops has 2 very big elevation changes. Well, it actually has 3, because if you're going out of turn 4 up to 5, that's a massive climb. Then you have the tabletop at the top, and then you have the big descent down into turn 8 again. That's the one elevation change up and down. And then you have another elevation change at turn 2 at Swartkops. but here at Aldo Scribante, it's very flat. It would almost qualify to be one of the aerodrome World War II circuits out of the UK, except that it's not in the UK.
We saw a error there by Jean-Andre Latour. He actually understeered into the previous corner. He lost quite a lot of ground there, probably 3 or 4 car lengths. But he managed to catch up, I would say, half of that in the final corner.
Yeah, at this stage, Jason's the quickest, as one would expect, and as forecast, we're on lap 3 now, and as I said, they'll be running slightly slower than their qualifying trim. They're running 1 minute 00.3s, 5s, and 6s. So the first 5 cars are below 1 minute and 0.1 second. So, sorry, 1 second, so that's actually quite quick. And then Dean Ash runs a 1 minute 1.5 seconds. So you see already that Neil Swartz, he's got quite a bit of a distance. Whoa, missed the brake marker.
That was
That's
close.
Jeffrey.
Oh.
He did very, very well. I must take my hat off to Jeffrey. He missed the brake marker, I think, completely, not just a little bit, and then took evasive action, which had he not done so, that would have been a nightmare for him and Mornay de Tour in front of him.
The interesting thing was he was challenging Monet, and there was a gap between Monet and Andre. Suddenly the gap between Andre and Monet is closed, and with him having made that little mistake or having to take avoiding action, he's now having to worry about Stan Bezuidenhout behind him.
Yeah. It's all of a sudden Jeffrey's almost a full second behind Mornay, and Stan Bezuidenhout 0.6 of a second behind Jeffrey. So even at the back of the field, battles are going on. You see those last 4, that's Andre Hilbrand, Mornay de Tour running as a couple, and then Jeffrey Rouse, Stan Bezuidenhout. Not quite as a couple that close together, but still they are fighting for the same piece of track. Picky Stander seems to have got up to 7th, and he's about 0.9 of a second behind Dean Ash. Dean Ash is 0.9 of a second. He's actually just taken Picky Stander back again, so I think Picky got past him and Dean Ash passed him back. So that gap is 0.9 of a second, so watch out for that one. Dean Ash and Picky, that's cars number 5 and 27. Well, you can't miss Picky. He's in one of the turquoise and lime green cars. I like that color scheme really a lot. His teammate Neil Swartz runs the other one. They are the SS Racing team. So it's a scheme that they've set up that is, you can recognize it. It would actually be nice at Nürburgring in the dark as well, because some of the cars, you actually rely on the caption to recognize the car. Whereas here in this field, the only ones that I say I would worry or not worry about that I don't recognize that easy are those guys that run in the standard colors still, that are the black and white.
Ooh.
There was somebody off and
That
facing the wrong way.
Father and son coming together.
Yeah, and that took out, and see where he drops to. Jean-Ray is down to 10th. Yeah, that was just all dressed up with no place to go. And that's a bad dash. Remember, we've said it before and we say it again. The only luck that Jean-Ray seems to get is bad luck. And then he gets it in buckets.
Yeah, just while we were watching some of the action, we did see him in the background running wide and going off track, and then he dropped all the way down. I guess it's such a smaller field. He dropped right down in a short lap. He dropped right down to 11th. And as he was coming through, his father was in a battle there as well, and I'm not sure what happened there. Ended up wide on the track, and the two of them came together.
Yeah. So yeah, here you can see Timo leading Neil Swartz. Timo's in the Minions racing car. And Timo just behind Gerrit Beerkes, who's running in a creditable second place. Best lap still to Jason Underwood, a 1 minute 00.138. Gerrit, a 1:00.266 is his fastest lap, which is what his last lap was. So he's just put in his last lap. 14 minutes to go, so I should imagine 14 laps to go. But yeah, it happens very quickly in this race.
And he was speaking about how, Jean-Andre, if he has no luck, the only luck he ever seems to have is bad luck. So once again, it's released Gerrit, who was behind him, and now suddenly Gerrit, from being in a sort of stable third place, just holding station, is suddenly now challenging for the lead.
Yeah. And the one thing that Gerrit, I'm not sure that he'll enjoy it, because I think he likes starting from first, but the bad news of starting first is that for the grid swap you go down to 5th for the second race, but Gerrit got a 3rd place for race 1, which means he'll start in 3rd place for race 2 as well. So that's almost the ultimate place to qualify if you can actually have a good turn of pace. But the difference is now as well, with the competition that Gerrit doesn't have to worry about for third place, he can actually push to catch up to Jason Underwood, which is exactly what he's doing.
And the good thing for Gerrit is, having done the endurance racing, he's struggling physically. Being in a battle like this, chasing for the win, he's going to forget about his pain because his focus is going to be on everything to win now.
Yeah. And especially when you catching, it's a Murray Walkerism, catching is one thing, passing is another. But I've always said, if you can see your competitor this close, you can measure how far and how quickly and where his strong points are. There, for instance, in my opinion, Jason missed the apex of the corner on the right completely. So there, Jason used, in my mind, a little bit too much of the curving. But don't worry what Sean says. This is just what I see. And I state, as I said, I'm no perfect racer. In fact, I've never really driven a race in anger. But what I'm actually getting at is that Gerrit has time to look and see what Jason's doing and where he's maybe doing things not as well as what he thinks he could, and where he could potentially, he being Gerrit, where he could mount a challenge, because where it was 0.7 of a second, the lead is down to 0.45. So slowly but surely he's getting up on him, and I think it's that thing that he can see where Jason's making minor mistakes, and once you've got pressure like this, then believe you me, Jason will be sweating under the visor there. He will know that Gerrit's right there on his tail, and Gerrit can afford to actually get past and go for the race, because he knows that he's going to be in the same third position for the start of the second race.
And he can also afford it because he's got quite a commanding lead in the championship, so he knows if he goes for it and it doesn't pan out, it's not the end of the world. Someone like Jean-Ray, who was in third place, he has to go for it, but he's got to be cautious because he needs to gain the points. He can't afford to lose points.
Talking about Jean-Ray, he's in 9th, but he's 3 seconds behind Stan Besaidnout. Much quicker lap time, so I should expect he'll catch Stan before the end of the race, which has got 11 minutes to go. But bad news for Jean-Ray, that specific moment there.
We see how far the gap is. We see someone having a good race, Dinesh Singh. Dinesh currently in 5th place, and it looks like Picky Stander is coming backwards on the track closer towards Dinesh. So I think Dinesh is kind of maintaining his pace. It looks like Picky is going backwards because the gap from Picky to Timo has increased. So Dinesh just chugging along there, doing his thing, nice and consistent.
Yeah, they're running very similar lap times. Picky a 101.205 versus Dinesh a 101.237. So close to each other within 100th or 2 of a second. But here's the first and second, Jason Underwood from Gerrit Beekes. And the Flying Bumblebee is really trying its best, the full throttle competitor trying to catch the JU Autos racing car of Jason Underwood. But Jason is an old hand at sim racing, and he will be doing just enough, I think, to stay out of the clutches of Gerrit Beekes, and also to make sure that he makes the car as wide as possible, and I don't mean that in a bad way. He might just take a tyre width or 2 off the racing line if needed to protect position on the road, and that will get Gerrit to think, he's not actually leaving me enough space, so I'm not going to take the chance. I'll consolidate second, take the points, and go home to fight another day.
Right, so this battle seems to be going down to the wire. 9.5 minutes left to go. Looks like Timo is falling away quite a lot at the moment, so I don't think, unless this battle slows down or slows them down quite a lot, I don't think Timo will be able to catch up.
The reality of Timo's third position is he can afford to slow down because behind him, Picky Standard is more than 5 seconds behind him. So he knows he doesn't have to worry about Picky, and he can run a race all of his own, knowing that he more than likely doesn't have the pace to catch up to Gerrit or Jason, either one of those two.
And we see Jeffrey now under threat as well from Neil.
Yeah, Neil had that bad start. I think he was as far down as 9th. So he's recovered to 7th now, and he's on Jeffrey Rouse. Let's see what he can do on Jeffrey. Jeffrey runs the SimExperience SAB team car, and he has a look, but the straight, it finishes, but I'm not sure that corner is one of the places that one can use to to pass. It has an element. He actually runs a little bit wider than what Jeffrey does, so you'll have to come at him in the tighter sections that exist on this track, and there are quite a few of them, as I said before, taking you around the track. You have the S's, but I think the S's are so quick, right and left, that maybe the kink and or West Bank hanger and potentially the hairpin turn 6, that maybe if you're close enough, maybe as you see there, the guys tend to go off the corner and drift wide. If you can actually just come into the corner, they say if you go in slow, your exit is fast, and if you can do that at the hairpin, then you might have a totally different racing line and might be able to use the corner to your advantage. Oh, mistake. Pressure. That's what pressure does. And now he's going to spin it all the way around. Does he get it back? You said the grass has no grip. And here comes back at him Jean-Ray. So Jean-Ray, Jean-Ray takes a position, but certainly I don't think that's the way that he would have liked to have had it happen. But Neil Swart certainly pressurizing him, and Jeffrey Rouse loses 2 positions in the twinkling of an eye, and not because of anybody passing him. That's the scenic route that's being driven there. So taking the grass and the countryside in as well.
Handling it quite well, actually, because it gets very slick out there.
He actually managed to keep the car pointing in the direction that he intended to go, which is well done. But as you said, the circuit at Aldo Scribante, for those of you that don't know where it is, it's just on the outside of Elizabeth, on your way to the Aldo National Elephant Park, although that's a lot further, but just to give you an idea of where it is. And quite twisty circuit. Some drivers like it, some don't. Because it doesn't really give you a chance to relax. You don't get a chance. You've got to be really, I wouldn't say suicidal, but if you do make a move, you've got to really make it stick and make it happen. Let's see what Gerrit is now. It's still half a second between Gerrit and Jason. I think these two are going to be coming up. It's 6 minutes to go. They're going to be coming up to back markers, which will be Andre Hildebrandt soon. And maybe with only 4 seconds to go up the road is Mornay de Toy. So they might get up to Mornay de Toy as well. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, this gap got down to 2/10. It's grown again to 5/10 now, obviously at different parts of the circuit. But it looks like Gerrit was trying to mount a challenge, or maybe Jason had made a small mistake, and now it's sort of equalized again. It's very difficult to get past.
Yeah, the last lap time, a 1 minute 00.762 from Jason and a 1 minute 01.175 for Gerrit. So that would explain why there is a little bit of a growth in the distance between them, about 0.7 of a second. Or maybe it's just an active decision made by Gerrit that he says that the risk is not worth using and he'll just stick to where he is on the circuit.
We saw Andre Hildebrandt actually running off there. He was further up. He's now down to 11th. He's now got the leaders right behind him.
Yeah, that's the one that I said that he would catch, and the one that is going to be interesting, they might catch up to Mornay de Toy as well.
Jason flashing his lights.
Yeah, it's Andre first, and then ahead of Andre is Mornay de Toy. Now, that's another thing, is Jason going to get past before turn 1? No, he's not. So that makes it quite interesting. There'll probably be blue flags because this is a pass for the leader, so you have to get out of his way. If you get blue flags, he actually stays off the racing line quite well and stays off it long enough for Gerrit to get past, but I think it affects both of them pretty equally, so the gap between the two of them is still 0.6 of a second.
Quite a difficult circuit to actually give way because there's not much room. It's quite a narrow circuit. I think it's only about 9 meters wide or something, or less.
And you saw Andre actually up on the curbing there, trying to stay out of the way.
Yes, and obviously they went far back. Oh, Monet losing it there and catching Jason.
No, that's the one that I said they're going to catch, but that just made it so much quicker. But now it's Jason Underwood 0.2 of a second ahead of Gerrit Beekes. And Timo Smit only 3 seconds behind Gerrit, but I don't think with 3 minutes to go, well, 3 minutes 40. So they've just gone over now. They'll probably finish 4 laps. And this is lap 17. They might do 20, might do 21. We'll have to see at what time on the lap counter, they actually crossed the finish line to start the last lap.
So this battle, obviously they're catching traffic. Sometimes you just catch the traffic at the wrong point, and it's difficult for the traffic to get out of the way. I think where they caught Andre didn't have enough time to roll off without losing too much time in his own battle. So maybe he thought you could hold him off just a little bit, because the lap times are so short here. The leaders are doing maybe 1 minute and 4 seconds, and the other guys are maybe doing 1 minute and 2 seconds kind of thing. So
Yeah.
as that driver, you maybe think, okay, I can hold him off till the part where I don't lose as much time.
Having a quick glance up and down the lap scoring monitor, the only challenge that is on track at the moment is Gerrit Beekers on Jason Underwood. The rest are all 2, 3, 4 seconds. So I wouldn't say not worth mentioning, but certainly bigger gaps, and some of them in the 16s and the 10s and the 9s. So you don't expect anything to happen with 2.5 minutes to go. But certainly Gerrit Beekers is not going to give it up. That Flying Bumblebee full throttle number 3 is going to try and catch Jason Underwood's JU Autos Racing number 17.
I had a bit of a weird little glitch there, so apologies for that. I couldn't get out of the dual view mode, and eventually got it to work, so we are back to this view.
Luckily I didn't see it because I was on the lap scoring monitor, so the joys of, but look there, it's less than a car length, depending who accelerates and who brakes. It's a car length or a half a car length as they go into and through the corner, and on exiting the corner, Jason gets onto the throttle first and then extends the lead again to just under 0.4 of a second. On the brakes again, Gerrit is right up there with him. So anything and everything to race for. They go across with 1 minute 43 to go, so they'll complete this lap and one more. So that will make it a total of, if it says 19, are they on lap 19 or have they completed lap 19?
Well, that's actually a good question.
Next to Jason's name it says lap 19. Not that it matters, they've got this lap and one more to go.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing, and you can see that there's a bit of tyre where the lateral movement is kicking in, the rotation is kicking in, so they are fighting these tyres.
Yeah. A great race, definitely, and it's lovely to see a great race specifically for the lead. We don't mind commentating, if my tongue and my brain get into the same gear, on great dices happening further down the field. It's just that at the moment there is nothing happening further down the field. The race is on for first and second.
For some reason I have to keep going back and forward between the different rooms to try and get back my view here, so a little bit of a gremlin creeping in here in the software.
It's not bothering the racing because the racing is still very, very close. Sumere says she of course belongs to Gerrit. She said, just take the points, I've no nerves left after all the racing, because she's probably been awake all night in the 24-hour race. So ons hoor jou lied, Sumere.
And of course Gerrit had some disasters happening in his endurance race as well, where one of the guys ended up causing him a bit of an accident, so I imagine the nerves are shot from all the spectators.
You know, and if you told me this, I don't know how long I've been with you now, Dennis, 2 years ago, if you told me that I would get so excited about sim racing, which you know is something that's a virtual reality, it's VR, some of the guys actually race in VR, some of them race with big screens, coming from being a full trackside commentator and to commentating on this, I would have thought you're probably nuts. But this is really, really great stuff. So this is now to start with 18 seconds to go. This is the last lap.
That actually was the last lap.
Oh, Sean's missed it.
My apologies as well.
I missed the minus in front of the 0. I need new glasses. Okay, so nonetheless, I think it would have had the same result. Jason Underwood from Gerrit Beekers. Eventually, Timo Smit snapping up. Third position there, Dinesh Singh, well driven for fourth. Pikkie Stander, fifth position. His teammate recovered well after, I wouldn't say disastrous, but not the greatest of starts. But Pikkie and Neil, teammates in the SS racing cars, that magnificent, I'll get my tongue going just now, color scheme. So it's Pikkie in fifth, Neil Swartz in sixth, Jean-Ray de Toy in seventh. We wait for Jeffrey Rouse in eighth, Stan Besaidnout. He'll be, I think, happy with ninth position. Andre Hildebrand had that spin, and Mona had a spin as well, so that's 10th and 11th. And that's everybody, I think, across the line.
That is. So we're going to just watch the guys head back to the pits, and then we're going to head off to an ad break, and we'll be back shortly Hopefully it'll be shortly after we reset the grid for race 2. So we will be back and we will see you probably in about 5 minutes time.
So Marai, 5 minutes to relax.
And calm your nerves.
There we go.
See you then. Alright, welcome back everyone. This of course is race 2 of the Sim Experience South Africa Toyota GT4 Cup, coming to you live from the Aldo Scribante circuit in Port Elizabeth. It's race 2, another 20-minute race. I'm your commentator Dennis Mitchell. We're joined once again by Sean Woodgate.
Good evening everybody. Hopefully we had as much fun in race 2 as what we did in race 1.
Alright, so our starting order has changed slightly. So of course for race 2 we have the top 5 reversed. So we have Neil Swartz in first place, Timo Smit in second place, Gerrit Bierkes in third place, Jean-Ray du Toit in fourth place. In fifth place, Jason Underwood. Sixth place, Picky Stander. Seventh place, Dinesh Singh. Eighth place, Jeffrey Rouse. In ninth place, Andre Hildebrand. 10th place, Stan Bezuidenhout. And 11th place, Morné du Toit.
Only 11 cars, but they certainly gave us a lot of excitement for race 1, and now with the reverse grid for the first 5, we can expect a lot of fun again. The only guy that's going to be comfortable where he is Gerrit Bierkes, because he was of course P3 in race 1. He's P3 once again, but he will know that the 2 cars ahead of him were behind him in the first race, so he's quicker than they are. He just has to pick them off at the right time and the right position on the circuit, if of course he is close enough to do so.
Excuse me while I'm just setting something here. Our second PC has decided to crash, so I'm going to reload that in, so we'll be missing that for the first couple of laps maybe.
No problem, I'll keep an eye on the start and carry it if you need. Dennis, you do what you need to do.
That would be great, thank you.
Right, so as we wait for them all to come into position, just again quickly, Neil Swartz, Timo Smit, Gerrit Bierkes, Jean-Ray du Toit, Jason Underwood, Picky Stander, Dinesh Singh, Jeffrey Rouse, Andre Hildebrand, Stan Bezuidenhout and Morné du Toit. Wait for the race to kick in. There's the timer comes live now. Wait for them to squat and you'll see they're away as they do go away, and looks like a demon start there from Neil Swartz. He got away very cleanly. It looks as though Gerrit Bierkes is going to maybe try and hang on to him, which will force Timo Smit to the outside of the circuit, as indeed it does. And Timo will go in just behind. Oh, but look who runs out of the road there. Is that Jean-Ray? Once again, Jean-Ray just finds himself, and it looks as though it's Jean-Ray and Picky that maybe got together in that one again. Jean-Ray's back on. Oh, there's more barging there. It looks as though the SS Racing team is not having a great start to this race, but that means that Gerrit Bierkes and Neil Swartz and Timo Smit, those 3 with half a second between each of them, are away because it's 2 seconds down to Jeffrey Rouse in 4th position. So there you see the first 3, Neil Swartz, Gerrit Bierkes, Timo Smit, as they go off, and then there's a big gap before you get to Jeffrey Rouse. So here you see the Minions car of Timo Smit, the Minions racing car, and he's right there with Gerrit Bierkes. We'll have to wait and see. This is the completion of lap 1, but of course it is, and now that we do know they've completed lap 1, there it flops over now to lap 2, so the indicator that shows next to the leader's name, it is the lap that they are on. And here comes Gerrit trying to put a nose up on the inside of Neil Swartz. And is he going to use the S's to do that? He's certainly going to make Neil Swartz's life very difficult for him. But Timo Smit is right there and willing to pick up the pieces if there should be any. And further back, Jeffrey Rouse is making, well, he's trying to make inroads. But Jason Underwood, I'm not sure that he managed to stay out of trouble, but he's in 5th position and he's got Jeffrey Rouse ahead of him that he will probably try and pass pretty quickly and then set off to see if he can catch up to Timo Smit. Here come the race leaders again. Very, very close racing. Gerrit Bierkes, the Flying Bumblebee, in 2nd position behind Neil Swartz, the SS Racing car number 32. And there they go, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Neil Swartz, Gerrit Bierkes, Timo Smit as they go across the racing line. The start line, sorry, the finish line, call it what you like. To start another lap.
We have our dual view back as well.
Ah, there we go. So now we can see the race leader on the right hand side looking back at Gerrit Bierkes. And here you can see, I actually enjoy the view on the left, where you can see all 3 cars, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and that just gives you an idea of how close they are. As I said earlier in the racing, there was half a second between all of them. It's now 0.3 of a second between Gerrit and Neil, and still half a second from Timo Smit to Gerrit Beekers, the difference between second and third. Let's go further back. Jeffrey Rouse is only 0.8 of a second or so behind Jason. Jason is, in other words, past Jeffrey, so he's up to fourth, but he's 4.6 seconds behind Timo Smit. But still quite a bit of 17 minutes to go, so Jason definitely will try and go for a podium for third position. But here's the 737 that, as I said before, if Jean-Ray doesn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. He finds himself in 8th position, and he's right behind Dinesh Singh. So this is the straightaway. Is he going to try and dive up the inside? Is Dinesh going to cover that line? Because you take it from wide left, then you apex on the right. I think Dinesh is far enough in the lead that he can actually keep the racing line for now. Let's see what's happening in the front. Gerrit Beekers has the fastest lap at this stage with a 1 minute 00.297, which is his last lap. So that full throttle Bumblebee number 3 is going, and it's going along, but it's still half a second behind Neil Swartz, and Timo Smit is still half a second behind Gerrit Beekers. So there they are, first, second and third, half a second between each of them. So the guys are pushing, but I think also knowing that this circuit is so tight, you've got to be really well positioned, and or the guy in front of you has to make a mistake. You can't do a suicide bombing. Here's the grid slots flying by. That means they're on the straightaway. There's the start lights. And now Gerrit positions on the right, but I think Neil Swartz just covers enough of that line. Gerrit realizes he's about 3 car lengths behind. You can't do a suicide maneuver from so far back, so he's going to hang back and see if he can do it another day. Now all of a sudden, with him, Gerrit changing his mind, Timo Smit is only 0.36 of a second behind Gerrit. So Gerrit has got to realize that if he just makes the slightest of error, Timo Smit in the Minions racing car number 84 is right there to attack him.
But a dirt being kicked up there, I think that was Timo just hitting the dirt slightly.
Yeah, the circuit, as we've said, we were actually having a chat between the two races. It's very narrow, so I think it makes just that chance for doing a pass under full race trim, full race speed, without either driver making a mistake. It just makes it very, very, very difficult to do so. And at this stage, 15 minutes to go.
Right, so extremely close at the front, 3/10 between first and second, 7/10 between first and third.
The other one is Jean-Ray in 7th, catching up to Stan Besaidnout. That's under a second to go. So that means Jean-Ray got past Dinesh Singh. Pakistaner is still in 9th. Morne du Toit has a DNF. So I think he might have been involved in that fracas on or just after the start.
Another one that doesn't seem to have much good luck.
Yeah. The Boeing Brigade just not having a night tonight. So
it seems some championships things go their way, others not. So we've seen them have good races, just this championship they seem to be struggling.
Yeah, Stan, I think, knowing that Jean-Ray is quicker than him, staying out of the way and actually getting 2 wheels on the dirt. So Jean-Ray is up to 6th, and he's got 3.7 seconds to catch up to Jeffrey Rouse. We can't really look at the last lap times because the pass had to be made, so that makes the lap time a little bit slower than what the driver can race. But certainly Dinesh is doing his best. Dinesh runs for the IBF USA team, which is also his teammate is Stan Besaidnout, who's right there in front of him. So Dinesh has got challenging to do, but also he has got to be a bit circumspect so as not to take either one of them or potentially both of them out. But yeah, Jean-Ray du Toit is past Dinesh, he's past Stan and into 6th position. We'll have to wait and see if the orange car can catch up to Jeffrey Rouse.
Right, so Dinesh right behind his teammates. So we actually finally get to look forward from this, the IBF USA, and actually see the logo on the bonnet, which we haven't really done throughout the championship. Very seldom do we get this view from either of their cars. But Dinesh is on the chase at the moment, although he's not nearly as good as he was in race 1. Race 1 he had a 4th place.
Yeah, I think he was also one of those that got involved with the coming togethers and staying away from each other's in the first couple of corners. But the fastest lap now,
We have a change of leadership, by the way. I tried to
Oh,
catch
yes.
it. I saw the gap was 0.075, and as I clicked it, it had already been passed.
Right, so I'm just trying to see where that is that he made it. Looks like through the S's. But, so this will be the question. How many guys do you... I missed it. There goes Johan Becker's Go Gerrit Go. So the Flying Bumblebee is flying along. And this is the place that Gerrit has become accustomed to. So second and the first position for this race with Neil Swartz in second. I can't remember where Neil and Timo finished in the first race. So it might be another podium first position for Gerrit for the evening. And once he gets going, Timo Smit is now 1.1 seconds behind Neil Swartz. And behind Timo, 3.2 seconds back is Jason Underwood with almost 12 minutes to go. So there's Timo Smit in the Minions racing car. That's first, that's second, that's third. As they come into that first corner after the straight, and certainly are making use of the gap between them. Well, Gerrit Beekes is making use of the fact that he's actually passed and now doesn't have to worry about the gap. It was Luck Repco, the first one that just slipped my mind. And then they have the S's, which is a right and a left. And after the S's, they have the kink. The kink isn't much. There's the S's. The kink isn't much of a corner. I think you just keep the foot flat out through the kink. There it is. And then there's West Bank Hanger, which is another sweep. That'll be flat out. And then the one that they call a hairpin isn't actually full 180 degrees. I'd guess it to be about 160. But yes, it is a sharp corner. As we swap between the cars that we are watching, Dean Ash and them coming through the S's and then the kink. So
there was a question, sorry to butt in, about how many laps we did in the Enduro. Just to quickly answer that. As you see, they're very close between the two teammates there. It was roughly 7 to 8 laps per stint, which was an hour, or roughly a stint. It would depend slightly on the weather. If it was wet, which it was regularly, then you would do slower lap times, but 7 to 8 laps per stint, so that would be roughly 168 laps ish. Quite a lot.
Yeah, it is. And that circuit, just getting off the topic of this race for a bit, the one, I don't know whether you want to call it a saving grace, it has a flat out, very long back straight. So if anything, but in the wet, I think you have to concentrate there as well for aquaplaning if you're just a little bit off the line. But that is the one place that if there's daylight, it was actually raining at night, which made that horrendous. But when there's daylight and you actually can get to use the back straight, then that is the one place that you can actually take things a little bit peacefully is on that track. Let's just have a look now. Genre is up to 5th past Jeffrey Rouse. He has 11-12 seconds to catch Jason Underwood, which I don't think is going to happen. Jason is still 3 seconds behind Timo Smit.
I'm not sure if he's just past Jeffrey or if Jeffrey's hanging in with him. But Jeffrey's really close to him at the moment, so possibly he has damage from that incident. But Jeffrey's pace has been pretty solid around here. I think he's been roughly about a second off the leaders, so yeah, looks like he's hanging in with him. Now it looks like maybe Genre is pulling away slightly to this sector.
If you look at the last lap, Genre did a 102.199 and Jeffrey a 103.689. So about a second, as you said, that Jeffrey is slower than Genre, just as a guideline. And I was about to say, until you told me that there's a change for the lead, that the Bumblebee's in the lead. The quickest lap, so bonus point goes to Jason Underwood. A 1 minute 00.055, and that's almost equal to the qualifying time. Although they were in the 59s in the qualifying time, so it's about a second off. So really flying along.
And Timo's caught right up as well to Neil, so Neil's right with Timo's right with Neil. So this is a challenge for second place.
Yeah. Timo only has 0.4 of a second, but it's the Minions car against the turquoise and green SS racing car. And Timo's having a good outing tonight. He was consistent in race 1, and certainly he's driving very, very well in race 2.
I see Johan saying he wants to compliment us. He watched 8 hours of the Enduro and he says we really make this entertaining. So thank you, Johan. Really appreciate that. Glad you're enjoying our efforts.
We do it with pleasure. Thank you very much.
And anyone else watching, remember, if you're enjoying it, you can hit the like and subscribe button or hit the notification bell. I think that makes a difference. I don't know all the YouTube thingies. I should, but I don't. I think that does help.
Yeah, you got the terminology. You must smash that bell, and
You should have a little ding-dong notification that comes up on screen like some people do.
yeah. But yes, certainly Timo Smith is going along. Half a second that he's behind Neil Swartz. Neil Swartz now 2 seconds or thereabouts, 1.9 behind Gerrit Beekes. I think Gerrit is racing within himself. Last lap of 101.017. So the bonus point to Jason for the fastest lap in race 2. But certainly, who's behind Timo? There's Jason. I just got to get behind Neil is Timo, then Jason. So these three are becoming second, third, and fourth. That's becoming very interesting racing now.
I'm saying, Timo must feature more. Yeah, Timo, I think in some cars he does feature more. I think it's also the certain nature of the car. He doesn't have time to, obviously these cars, we have fixed setup as we see Stan running wide there.
Stay away from the rubber. Stay away from those tires. There we go.
He got close to them. Right, yeah. Safely back on track. So that has released Picky, I believe. So yeah, so Timo, in some cars, you can really hustle them around on the default setup. This, I think the default setup is not suited him 100%. He also prefers a car with a fixed setup because he doesn't have the time to do setups like some drivers do. So we are trying to cater for everyone. So we will have some championships that will have fixed setups with generally cup cars. So everyone can just jump in and drive. Everyone has to basically do the same thing. And then we'll have some championships where we'll have setups. For example, we're going to be doing a South African Touring Car Championship at some time this year. That will have open setups because there will be multiple cars. So that way the drivers can tweak the cars. We'll also do a endurance series of our own at some point. So we'll probably do that when we start doing the new series. We're going to rotate, and every last weekend of the month we will do a mini endurance for all the guys. And then we'll only have 3 races towards the other series for the rest of the month.
Yeah, the set cars, as they were known when they started, were very interesting. So certainly, there's Neil Swartz, Timo Smith. This is second and third. So Timo Smith is giving it all he's got in the Minions car for a second place. And I'm not sure, we did inquire. Oh, there's a nudge, but he hangs back. I was about to say, does the slipstreaming come into effect yet? And then Timo runs and just nudges Neil there. So maybe there was a bit of a slipstream with the car ahead of him breaking the F wing, and he got a little bit deep into the corner before he realized he's got to get onto the brakes. But did the right thing and just hang back. Didn't gain any advantage, didn't upset the car in front of him. So all's well that ends well. But yeah,
Timo, back in the day, sorry, but I think Timo is really having a time of his life at the moment. We don't see him this racy that often lately.
Yeah. The set cars, I remember it was the Michael Briggs and company in the Opels. It was the BMWs of Sean van der Linde, Dion Hubert. That was the heydays of my trackside commentary time.
There was the Nissan as well, wasn't there? I forget who was in the Nissan.
Neil de Villiers.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. And that came along later. It wasn't the initial Nissans weren't quick. That was Hannes Grobler and Nick de Waal. And then they weren't quick at all, but they changed when they went later.
There was also the Camry, I believe.
Yes, Mike White, I think, and Serge Damso. The Minolta Camry and the Castrol Camry.
Yes.
Oh, I've got goosebumps now. those are good days, really good days.
Yeah, it'd be nice to replicate something along those lines, although it would be modern cars, but try and do a South African touring car series for all the drivers, just to have South African tracks. I think it'd be fantastic.
Yeah. And then you've got to, I'm not sure if that's going to run a Class B, but you had guys like Farouk Dangle and Jesse Huggett from Cape Town that were running the junior classes, let's call it Class B in the SAT cars. And then also the Dos Santoses, they were running a Vento, which is the equivalent to a Volkswagen Jetta imported. But yeah, it was a great time. But we're wandering off topic now. 3 minutes, 10 seconds to go. Gerrit Beekes leads by 2.2 seconds. Timo Smith is only 0.3 of a second. You can see it right there behind Neil Swartz. Sorry, I've got it the wrong way around, yeah? So, who's this? This is actually Pikkie Standers. I got the right team but the wrong car. Pikkie Stander behind Jeffrey Rouse, or Pikkie Stander got Dinesh Singh right behind him. So
Let's show
Jeffrey
both
Ross.
battles. Give
Yeah,
us.
Jeffrey Ross. It's Jeffrey Ross and Pakistan. I'll get it right eventually.
If you put
Once
your
I stop-
nose on the line in the center, then each eye can look at each individual camera.
Yeah, he actually has a look on the inside, and Jeffrey Ross is going to know that he's got competition and he's been passed. So that's Pakistan passing Jeffrey Ross. If we get the lap scoring monitor to catch up with
No,
it.
no, that's Timo that's been passed.
Oh, it's Timo that's been passed. I got it wrong again. So Neil Swartz up to second. He's having a demon evening.
But I think Timo had gone for the move and that just didn't quite come off. So he's
Yeah.
taken it back because Timo has been in third. Maybe tried the move. I was sort of looking at the other camera at the time, and I think that was just him getting taken back.
What's happening in this race, there's only 10 cars on the track, of which 2 of them look identical, but they're at totally different ends of the race. And that's what's throwing us off, is the fact that we're looking at 2 totally different races with the same looking cars. So yeah, we need to read the subscript that it's Timo Smit in the battle on the left and Pakistaner in the battle on the right. So Timo Smit is attacking Neil Swartz. Neil Swartz is in one of the turquoise and green cars. And on the right,
there goes Jeffrey off the circuit.
well, if he carries on going like that, he's going to get onto the other side of the circuit and then come back.
Actually managed to keep going, so he obviously didn't get too much damage, so good to see that he's got going at least, or kept going.
Yeah. So I wonder what the gap is going to be now. We'll have to wait and see. But at this stage, 1.8 seconds between Gerrit Beekers and Neil Swartz. Timo Smit, 0.4 of a second. So certainly it can be chased. And there he is, Timo Smit, right behind Neil Swartz. But not close enough to challenge. That's about, what, 3-4 car lengths? And also two totally different racing lines in and out of that last corner. And as they come down the main straight again, with 40 seconds to go. So this time I'm going to get it right.
Yes.
This is the last lap.
I managed to get the notification up in time as well.
Yeah, so... Yeah,
So Gerrit Beekers is in the lead. We haven't featured him much because he's got there and just pulled away slowly. So having a solid race.
Yeah, very good passing maneuver that he did do to get to the lead. And then he just consolidated it from there, driving just fast enough to actually keep the guys behind him honest. And they've got to have an element of risk to try and get at him, which they're not going to do. The race that is on at the moment is still Timo Smit in third, with Neil Swartz just ahead of him. Was that Timo that put a set of wheels to the left?
It was, yes.
Yeah, that doesn't help the grip. And you can see the gap open immediately. So maybe that has sorted out first, second, and third.
Right, so Gerrit comes across the line, or coming up to the line. The race 2 victory.
Yeah, so that was lap 20. And Neil Swartz in second, Timo Smit in third.
And look what's happening to Jason. He's got Jean-Andre coming past. Looks like he's giving Jean-Andre the position. Perhaps there was some issue at the start between them, and maybe Jason
just sorting it out on the line.
Yeah, maybe thinks he's was at fault.
Right, so Jean-Ray then takes fourth, Jason takes fifth, and here comes Pakistan to take sixth position, Dinesh Singh right behind him. Here's one of the guys that drove the scenic route, Jeffrey Rouse.
Stan Bezednut coming across the line ninth. He had a good race actually. He was in the mix, had a nice fight for a change.
He had a nice evening actually. I think Stan will be very happy to finish both races at pace and going strong.
And Andre Hildebrand comes across the line. Comes across the line.
Yes. And of course, the 11th car was Mornay de Toy that had a DNF.
Yes. So that, of course, that's it. Yes. So I'm going to close up here, head off to go find our podium guys. So we will be back probably in about 5 to 10 minutes, depending how long the server takes to give us results. We'll figure out who the top 3 is, and we'll be back for the podium. So stick with us. We'll see you then.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Right, welcome back everyone. That of course is the completion of the Sim Experience South Africa Toyota GT4 Cup Round 7 from Aldo Scribante. We have our top three joining us for the interviews at the moment, which are Gerrit Bekus in first overall, Jason Underwood second overall, and Timo Smit third overall. Sean, would you like to do the interviews?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening to our riders and well done to you all. I'm going to go bottom to top. Timo, you had an absence for a while and now we see you on the podium regularly. You're having a great evening or a great series in this specific car. Tell us about it.
How's it, Sean? Hey, Dennis. Yeah, Sean, absolutely right. It's an awesome car to drive, and on the smaller track, it seems like we were not too far behind as per the previous few races. So we found something there. Obviously, first race, a little bit of luck on my side with Jandre spinning out, but we had the race pace. Quali pace is still slightly off, but at the end, stoked with a third overall. Absolutely happy with that one.
Thank you, Timo. Jason, tell us what happened in the start of that second race. There was a coming together of a few, and then we saw dust and it settled, and then I think the front three were away, and you were one of those that had to actually catch up. But an evening well driven for second overall. Tell us about that start of the second race, if you saw anything.
Yeah, hi there, guys. So from my point of view, I was taking the inside line, and then it was kind of like one of those first corner incidents where you get pinched on the inside, and then I made contact with Jandre. It was a little slight contact, and then somebody else hit him from the outside of the track. So that's what happened. Whether it's a first corner incident, I don't know, but I thought I'd just give him the place back anyway at the end of the race, as he started ahead of me anyway, so I thought that would be the better thing to do. So yeah, unfortunate, but other than that, it was a good race weekend. Race 1 was pretty good, I must say. Finally found what Gerrit and Jandre are cooking for qualifying purposes. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good to be back in the front, and I really enjoyed it. Okay,
so then Dennis and I got that last corner. We allowed him to go. We got that right as to why you did that. Gerrit, the flying bumblebee. I wouldn't say you had it all your own way. P3 in qualifying, so everything rotated around you. But you seem to have two solid races and then even win the second one. You actually have, or I think you're throwing a problem at the server as to which race to discard. So you're enjoying yourself in this car.
Yeah, everything is going all right. So we're actually having an inside joke here with Jason being Mr. Sandbag, because we just know he's going to be there. Yeah, I couldn't put qualifying together, but no excuses. I just wasn't fast enough, and then yeah, just taking it easy in the first race. It's too difficult for me to overtake here, but yeah, worked out well.
Yeah, there's that old saying, you've got to first finish to finish first, and you managed to do that. Your combined times to get first for the podium. Well done to you. Back to you, Dennis, for any questions.
I'm just going to ask a question to Gerrit since you've won overall. Gerrit, you've obviously done this 24-hour endurance race, which was quite a physical challenge, I'm sure. I mean, I'm aware of that, but obviously in your circumstances, you've put yourself through a lot. You've done this race, you've done an amazing job tonight, actually. I'm sure you're going to be in a lot of pain for the rest of the week. So what is your prep work for the next round?
Well, luckily there's no endurance races on the horizon, so I will be taking a pill tonight, going to bed, get good rest, and then seems like I have to practice for the next rounds because the guys are really getting fast.
All right, well done, guys. I'm going to just kick you all out for now so we can say goodbye to everyone. So let me just get the rooms. I'm just going to drop you into the rooms above us. So,
cheers, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
well done.
Cheers.
All right. Okay, so well done to our top three drivers, Gerrit Bekus, Jason Underwood, and Timo Smit. So for the next round, we are heading over to Hockenheim. So we head over to Germany next, before we head back home to South Africa and then off to Spain for the Valencia Grand Prix circuit. So Hockenheim is I think it's a fantastic circuit. Of course, it's a circuit that has been butchered over the years, so we no longer have the long straights through the forests. But we do have that fantastic stadium section, which is one of the tightest sections of the circuit. And we do still have some fairly fast straights, so I think it could make for some good, exciting racing. There's still lots of overtaking opportunities here. I think the circuit could be challenging in some areas for this car. There's lots of sort of fast-flowing, sweeping corners, which might, in a way, reminds me a little bit of the final sector of the classic Kyalami, with the way it sort of flows and then goes up the hill there. That reminds me a little bit of some of the section here from Hockenheim. So some of the drivers did have problems with those sort of faster flowing. With the fixed setup, the car maybe understeers a bit more in that, and driving style, you have to kind of force it to turn. I know with Gerrit we see him pushing the rear. Maybe that's easier for him the way his driving style is compared to someone like Timo, who finds the front is maybe pushing a bit more. So it could be quite interesting. Sean, do you know the Hockenheim circuit very well?
No, not at all. I was about to say I have a bit of homework to go and do as well, is to find a car and take me around Hockenheim for a few laps so that I can see what markers are where and to get to know the circuit. That's good news for me. Some bad news for all of you out there still listening is that the week after that, good news for me, I'm going to be on leave in Cape Town. So Dennis will take you through Kyalami, the current layout. So I'll be missing that race in 2 weeks' time, and then I'll be back after that. So a bit of work to go and do, learn what happens at Hockenheim, and be prepared for next week's race, or this coming Sunday's race.
Oh, fantastic for the holiday. I'm kind of jealous. But all right, thank you to everyone for watching. We will catch you all next week, and that'll be for the Hockenheim Grand Prix circuit. And then for the following week, as we hear, I'll be alone, and while Sean is off on holiday putting his feet up, then we'll be at the Kyalami circuit. And then the following week, we'll be at the Valencia circuit. Will you be joining us for that one?
Yes, indeed. We fly Saturday. So I'll be away the one Sunday and I'll be home the next.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed what you watched. If you didn't like it, then you can feel free to hit the thumbs down, but hopefully you won't. And we will catch you all next week. So have a good week. Until then, see you all next week.
Cheers, everybody.